And here he is. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chuck. Thanks for the drum roll. I appreciate it.
You think I need some new drums, maybe?
No. I think you're fine.
Hey, before we get into the fact that the book is now out, it's available. You can get it at Amazon.com. We're going to talk about the book. I want to mention that you're going to be hosting a reception. You and, is it your wife, Barbara?
Mm-hmm.
In Indianapolis, Indiana, and it's going to be April 30th for those listeners in that area. And what is this reception for? Mike Pence?
Mike Pence, who is currently a U.S. congressman from southern Indiana, and he is running for governor to replace Governor Daniels. And I've got to know Mike over the last year or so, and I think he's a great man. He's level-headed. He understands where we need to go in this state, and so we're having a fundraiser reception for him at Maple Creek Country Club on the evening of April 30th, and anybody from Indiana or close by, please come out and support Mike, because I think he will be another great governor for Indiana.
In fact, just had a call from there on a previous guest today from that area. So if you're listening, let me see. Is this 260 number I have? Yeah. 260-442-7448. That's 260-442-7448. Brenda Gerber is the person you can RSVP, and that's on a Monday evening, April 30th. Well, the book is out. It's at Amazon.com, and if you didn't read the first book, this is full of all kinds of updated stories, because I guess you were flooded with emails and people saying, let me tell you the disaster I had with the unions. And this is a nonfiction book. It's basically about David's account of intimidation and corruption from the SEIU. That's what started it all, right?
Well, yeah, it did. And as you know, Chuck, in past discussions, that I felt that I needed to expose what these people were doing and how they're intimidating people, and they're trying to force them into unionism and forcing employers to capitulate and sign neutrality agreements so that card check is put in place. And I just, I'll be honest with you, Chuck, I was naive 6 years ago when this all started. I just did my job in trying to run my company and take care of customers and employees, and as far as politics, just go and vote and do my duty as a U.S. citizen. But when I got into all this stuff, and I see how they use politicians and clergy and other people to do their bidding, and then they pour the money back into politics.
Yeah. Hey, this morning I'm reading my local paper, and there was a letter to the editor, and said, I went to my local grocery store, and there was a fire truck parked in the parking lot. And at first I'm thinking, this lady's going to complain because the firemen use the personal vehicle to go down and buy their groceries, right? But no. On the back of the fire truck was a bumper sticker, Obama for 2012. And she went in, she tracked down the fireman, and she says, I can't believe that you people would put that on there. Why in the world are we taxpayers paying for this, advertisement for Obama? I mean, we bought the fire truck, and they said, nope, the union told us that we had to put it on there. Well, have you ever heard anything like that?
Oh, it doesn't surprise me.
You've heard worse than that.
Yeah. Chuck, that's where this is at. And again, that's part of why I'm trying to expose all this, because people need to wake up and understand that we got 12% of the population or the workforce running the country, and the tail's wagging the dog, and we need to stop it.
Promoting socialism.
That's exactly right. And if we don't get this stopped, if we have another 4 years of this administration, I fear for what our country's going to be like. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not I'm not the type of guy that goes out and tries to start wild rumors or things like that. Mm-hmm. It's just a fact that when you look at what they're trying to do and how they're trying to control business, that if they accomplish their what they're trying to accomplish, we are going to be a socialistic society, and it's going to be ugly.
You know, and the unions are so comparable to the current president because the mainstream media is on their side. They're not going to tell you what's going on. And, you know, the National Labor Relations Board, whenever the Congress was not out of session, he did the emergency appointments and claimed they were out of session, and nothing came of that. I mean, we are up against a battle that I keep pointing out to people. I said, look at these protests. You know, look at these signs. Aren't these beautiful signs that all of a sudden at the last spur of the moment these people decide to go out and march? And they have these beautiful signs, yeah. And then you notice they're printed up by the SEIU union.
Well, that's right. They are very organized, and this is what people need to understand. It's not just the SEIU. There's other unions like Unite Here and AFSCME and some of the others that are getting involved in it.
Teachers unions.
That's right. But the nice thing, and I talk about this in my new book, The Devil at Our Doorstep, is that people are waking up, and not just non-union people, but union members. Like there's a gal out in California named Miriam. She calls herself Miriam the Mighty, and she's an SEIU member, but she's tired of them. In fact, she's got a court case against them that I think goes to court this Saturday out there.
And what union is she going against?
The SEIU.
SEIU, okay.
Yeah, and she's tired of them using her dues money for politics and other purposes that she doesn't believe in, and they're trying to get the courts to force the SEIU to open up their books to what they're really doing.
And Dave, you look at the unemployment figure for America, and like especially if you're a teacher or any job, and you go bucking the union, and all of a sudden you might be out of a job, right? They use that for a threat.
Oh, they do, and it's sad, and they use it in these campaigns too, like they ran against my company. In fact, I got to tell you this one. This one just came across yesterday from a guy in Boston that has a cleaning company, and he actually signed an agreement with the SEIU to let them. It's a new agreement that I haven't heard of. He calls it an access agreement, but basically he'd let them go out and talk to his employees about having a card check, and the union went out and couldn't get enough employees to sign it. And now they're out there intimidating the employees, threatening them, and are filing charges against these people in the company with NLRB because they can't get the people to agree to be unionized. And this is the SEIU.
I mean, and we're talking about America. We're not talking about the olden days, and Hitler and Russia. I mean, this shouldn't be going on in this country.
Well, I know, and like I say, and again in my book, there's other stories. Like about a month ago, I was contacted by United Auto Workers in Michigan, and they actually had me up to speak with them on the state capitol steps in Lansing about the unions, how they're misusing union dues for politics. In fact, one guy got up, I couldn't believe it. This is a United Auto Worker. He spoke right after I did. And he got up and he says, we need right to work in this state, and we need it so that we can control our dues money, decide if we want to support certain politicians, and I don't want my money going to Obama. And I was shocked. I mean, he said that right out there in front of the press.
Still has his job right now, or do you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a good step right there.
It is, and so it's encouraging, and these kind of stories are in the book. I've also got a vindication chapter. If you remember, we had clergy.
Somebody apologized to you, right?
Right. We had a clergyman actually come and apologize. He sent me a letter of recommendation. That's in the new book, and said everything you said in your first book is absolutely true.
Now, if you want to get a copy of this book, I got to tell you, listener, if you belong to a union, all right, especially, or if you have somebody, a good friend of yours or whatever, that's having problems with the union, disagrees, I mean, you should have a say where your dues go. I mean, sure, I'm sure there are certain laws that are set up, within the union. It says, okay, we do this to make sure that this working condition is safe, or maybe we got to have, but for unions to say we're going to take your money and we're going to give it to the Democrats, I mean, it's ridiculous. But it's that pressure, like I say, when you look at the employment of how bad it is for Americans right now. I don't know, anyway, Amazon.com, I get frustrated trying to do this because, you shouldn't even be up against the wall like this in this country. It should have never come to this.
I know, Chuck. It's such an emotional issue, and it is frustrating. And here's the real problem people need to understand. They think, well, if the union's only 12% of the workforce, they can't affect this November's election. But the truth is, the unions have already committed $400 million to the reelection of the president, and the SEIU and ASME have committed between them $185 million, and that $400 million, that's 40% of what he's expected to raise. So
do you know what the teachers union? Do you have any figures on them?
No, I just saw those two figures last night on a report that I got across, and I don't know what the teachers union is, but those were the two biggest ones that came across on that.
Boy, $400 million from the unions for the president to get reelected.
That's right, and that if he gets reelected, they're going to expect payback big time. And if he does, we're going to see mass unionization across this country because we're going to see changes in the National Labor Relations Board regulations and laws. And
whenever you vote, anytime if you're a union member and you vote, you're also going to see that they are going to be able to tell exactly how you voted. So you just see how long you have that job if you don't, let them pull your strings, so to speak. And look at this situation in Wisconsin, because we want to talk about this before we run out of time, and Governor Scott Walker.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting that, they've got the recall election going on up there, and quite honestly, it's the most important non-presidential election of the last decade, because this man, with his intestinal fortitude, went into a state that is known as a pro-union state and reduced the collective bargaining laws and what unions can do up there. And he's balancing their budget up there. And in fact, Chuck, I don't know if you've heard about this, but a couple of the school systems that had to buy their health care from union companies, union-affiliated companies, are saving millions of dollars because they're out on the free market now. And
I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. And even the teachers understand this now. But the unions, because they're what I call dinosaurs, and they're very desperate people do desperate things, they're bound and determined to unseat Walker. And here's the funny thing about it. They're pushing a gal that they want and they're backing because the guy that really was their first choice, the mayor of Milwaukee,
Tom Barnett.
used Walker's same tactics and programs of cutting back on the collective bargaining and the unions and all that, and balanced the budget in Milwaukee. And he's a Democrat.
So that's doesn't look very good if you're trying to, blame this guy. Yeah. Proved to Governor Walker's point by utilizing the governor's union reforms to balance his city budget. And you're saying that, this is a good time to set the tone. I don't know what people outside of Wisconsin can do, other than use this for an example, but, can you legally, really get involved in their election? Or if so, how can you do it? How can you participate in it?
Well, the only way you can do it is I know that Governor Walker has a PAC up there, and Chuck, I wish I could remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'm sure you could go in and Google him and find it. But if people wanted to support him, and I know businesses from Indiana have supported him up there because we do business up there, and I think everybody sees this as kind of the tipping point. If we can get him reelected, it's going to set the tone for November.
Yeah, and I know you also mentioned that the teachers, Wisconsin teachers, that they're growing tired of the big labor tactics. And I'm wondering if all teachers' unions, I know you hear me spout about the teachers' union constantly, but it's just the fact that I think out in California it's like 90% of their political contributions all go to the Democrats. And the other 10% probably go to the Sierra Club. Of course, I just made that up, but man, it's people like you and like your book. And it's why I want the listener to get a copy of the book, The Devil at Our Doorstep. It's available at Amazon.com. There's also a website, The Devil at Our Doorstep. And you can also go to Dave Bego's blog, because he blogs something every day. It's like a daily newspaper, and great cartoons. I just stole one you put on there today and sent out to all my emails. So,
well, shame on you.
Yeah, I know. It was, while you're deciding on this, can you also decide how to balance a budget? Talking to the Supreme Court, I think it was, yes. Okay. Hey, much more coming up. Don't go away. My guest, David A. Bego, and we're talking about his book, The Devil at Our Doorstep. The first book was The Devil at My Doorstep, and thanks a lot for that. Now it's at our doorstep. Should have just kept it with you there. Yes, anyway. ScottWalker.org. That's the best place to go, David. I looked that up there, and you can go to ScottWalker.org and get all the information. And once again, I'll tell the listeners that the first book was so successful, and then you were inundated with stories about big labor abuses, intimidation from people all over the country that have been putting up with this, and they're tired of being bullied by big labor. And that's why I say that, some unions are good. I worked with a union in radio and television that, I was glad that I was finally getting a decent salary from some of the other places I'd worked, and never really had a bad experience. Maybe one that I can relate to, but, I don't know. Do you think it's, I'll put it this way, Dave, out of all the unions, what percentage do you think are doing a real honest to goodness good job and not screwing over their members?
Well, Chuck, unfortunately, I think it's a small percentage, and I think the ones that probably, and not even all of these, but some of the trade unions where, you have electricians, plumbers, and that, where they're teaching them skills and they have ongoing training and that. I think that they are probably the ones that are most valuable to their members right now. But a lot of these big ones like the SEIU and AFSCME and the Unite Here and those, they're out for one purpose, and that purpose is to force unionized people and get the dues money and get it to politicians so that they can change the laws to help the unions. And because these big labor bosses want to keep their jobs, let's face it.
Oh yeah,
that's what this is all about. It isn't about the guy working out in the plant or in the building or wherever it may be. This is about the big labor bosses and their future. And it's unfortunate.
I know you're pretty high up on the United Auto Workers union, and we don't have very much time left. But do you think that they price themselves out as far as employees making too much money on those assembly lines? Was that part of the demise, or was it cheaper cars from other countries?
Well, I think definitely, world competition had something to do with it. And I don't think the auto industry, and I blame the executives as much as I do the union bosses, quite honestly, because the executives let them get away with it. But
and
here's
kept
the problem.
That big money in their pocket.
That's right. But let me tell you a quick story. We're
involved. 30 seconds.
Okay, well, we're involved with a contract where we've replaced United Auto Workers. And the people that we hired to replace them have told us that, something, we know that the United Auto Workers ruined our town. And we're so happy that we have people like you that come in and pay us a fair wage, treat us right, and allow us to have jobs, because we need jobs.
Thank goodness, a happy story. Thank you, David. David Bego, the author of The Devil at Our Doorstep, Amazon.com, or go to the website, thedevilatourdoorstep.com. Hey, David, thank you, and we'll do it again, sir.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I appreciate all your support, and you have a great day.